Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
I love the nurses that come and see me.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Since I've learned about Angel Care, I would recommend them to anybody.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching. Thanks as always to the producer and editor of our series, Jeff Durall. We're in the library of Hays High School, visiting with Hays High FFA instructor and teacher of biology at Hays High, Curt Vajnar, our Community Connection. And the reason we're doing this is because Curt's team was first place in the National Champion Land Team competition recently. And we wanted to find out more about the land team, also a little about Homesite, which was part of the competition. Let's get into the particulars here, Curt. Where was the competition held and when was it?
It was in May, towards the end, May 5, 6, 7 in that area. And then it was down in Oklahoma City, and that's where it is each year.
What is a land team? Explain that.
A land team is, you can have a 4-member team. They take the top 3 scores, and they are to determine the value of that piece of property out on the site as it would pertain to production agriculture. Is that a cropland? Should that be pasture? Mm-hmm. Is it cropland with lots of management tools because of erosion and stuff? And those kids would go out there to the site, and there's, I mean, it's just like ants going over a hill because of so many people. And they took us out there 40 miles from Oklahoma City, so we were way out west this year. And they have holes in the ground for them dug. They have soils up in boxes, so they would determine soil types, depth of soil, depth of topsoil, and then they got to take that and calculate with original for a percent of erosion. Then they take 2 stakes, they're 100 yards apart, and then they have to visually determine slope to determine how fast the water would run off.
Wow.
So anyway, so
that's an in-depth presentation, Curt.
So they got to manipulate all those factors, and then they put it. That's a score sheet, and then you determine that class of that soil. Hands-on competition. Yeah.
And how many involved in this?
This one had 92 teams from all over the United States, and a little over 390. I think there's 390 some kids that did this competition.
How about your team?
We were fortunate enough to be first this year out of those up there. West Virginia was number 2, so I'm sure West Virginia's not happy with a Kansas school, but that's okay. And this is the first time in my 28 years of teaching where I have actually coached an individual that was a national champion. And that is Jared Kisner, who is a junior, who actually lives in Victoria and comes over just for ag, is why he's over here.
Tell me about how a teacher prepares students for this type of competition, Curt.
Well, Homesite and land are pretty important to the Hays FFA program because of past experience. Last year, we took a team down there and produced the 5th and 7th individual, which one was my son, so that was kind of cool. And but we were reserve national champs in Homesite, and so we were one away last year. So, you know, it is a little pressure. And I told those poor sophomores, I said, well, I can't wait for you guys to be in that class, because I said, the only way you can get better is to win 2 national champs. So, so I wouldn't enroll if I was them, because I don't think that's going to happen.
A little pressure from the teacher.
A lot of pressure, but you know, we've had a good history or a good run. I think that's probably 7, 8 teams I've taken down there in the past.
It happens every year.
Yes, the competition happens every year. We've back-to-back, and then I think we had a 2-year gap, and before that we were there probably 3 straight years.
And the number of total students you had in that land team?
There's 4.
4 students?
Yeah, sure. Okay. You got to enroll 4.
Okay.
And once they do it, they're done.
Now, let's move to the Homesite. Tell me about the Homesite competition.
Okay, the Homesite would be another piece of land that they have marked out, again with the holes, so you're doing the soil types. But now we're manipulating factors for basements, sidewalks, yards, septic tank systems. So, you know, if it's on a sandy soil, we're going to have settling problems. If it's on a clay soil, you're going to have pressure points on foundations, so you'd have cracks in your walls. Clay soil is good for a lagoon because it doesn't let it, you know, the waste products permeate through the ground. whereas the sandy soil would be a disaster for that type of sewage system. And then the lateral lanes is the moderates and stuff, but a clay soil won't let it drain. So you got those kind. So there's lots of things they manipulate due to, you know, what you would live in. And again, I tell my kids, I said, you're going to build a $250,000 house on a little chunk of ground. You probably ought to make sure it's going to stand there. So,
well, and practical experience again, because at some point these kids may be involved in something like that.
Or they might have a yard, want to know why it doesn't grow too.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Okay, how many in the Homesite?
Homesite is the 4.
4 students.
And I use the same 4 when we go down. Now, a lot of schools, the school that beat us in Homesite, that's all they did. They just do Homesite. Because I'm guessing he's bringing them back next year to do land. But we're going to do both. And then that provides an opportunity for a different set of kids next year.
Okay.
Because what they do is once you do that contest, you're done. So I'm guessing he ran them in Homesite, and they're pretty good because they won. So he'll turn around and they'll be back in the other one next year.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
But you can only do it one time.
Yeah.
Then.
So we do both contests each time we're there.
Okay. And with the 4 students, you name the students for us?
We had Jared Kisner, and he was first in the land, 4th in the Homesite, so he medaled out twice. Brandy Zimmerman, a senior, was 16th in Homesite, and then Elijah Joy is a junior, and then Dusty Snyder would have been the other one. They were 3 juniors and a senior.
Okay. And when do they enter the actual competition? Do they enter as sophomores, or they wait till they're juniors?
It's in class. That usually is my junior class when they're enrolled, and that's when we do it. It happens. It happens in the fall. We have a district contest, and we have a state winning thing. There's actually can be 4 teams from the state of Kansas, and so you have to win the state one. And last year it was up at Atwood, and then that decides that Hays was the team that represents our corner of the state at
statewide first, and then the national.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Tell me about the history of the FFA program at Hays High.
The history. Well, the history is as much as I can tell you.
I mean, as far back as you go.
I've got 28 years, so I can tell you 28 years. We've facility-wise, we've moved quite a bit. We started in actually was a really small classroom with no hands-on or no greenhouse. Now we are in a very nice facility with a big classroom. We have a greenhouse, and we have individual lab rooms. Once upon a time, it was probably the state of the art for an agri-science facility. Because I went to, I got to think, Atlanta, Georgia, for a summer conference to show them a design that we had to a national ag teacher conference. So our director in the state must have thought it was pretty cool beans. So I remember I was still single and young, and man, was it hot down there. That's all I remember. But that
at the time, pretty impressive.
Yeah, but the facility has really grown to allow us to be very competitive at things that we do. Lots of good kids. This year, for an example, through the history, we will put up 5 state degrees. We had 2 seniors that were district officers. The gal that was district president running for state office, we will know how that goes in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then Conrad, my son, besides being the district officer, is also up for one of the 7 in the Star agribusinessman, because his record book and his job outside of school, he works for Wentholtz Landscaping and then Hays Kalon. So he takes that and he's got to have record books, and he interviewed for that 2 weeks ago at state contest. So we'll see. This has been a good year. Busy year, but we've had a lot of winners.
Obviously, a pretty strong program at Hays High.
We're doing well.
How about support? You get a support from
people are great. Administrations.
Parents.
Yep. Both are very great. The land thing, the Soil Conservation Service, the Ellis County Conservation Service, helps sponsor this team. They write us a $500 check every year. Very, very generous. Another deal that would relate to the support is we do a labor auction, scholarship labor auction every year, and this year we produced over almost $14,000 in about 2 hours, and we're providing kids 8 hours of service for a donation, and I don't know, we're filling up that cafeteria, so I don't know if we're going to have to go somewhere else, but that's a good problem. And then the way that works is that money's given out to kids to pursue secondary school based upon how involved they've been in our program.
Plant sale every year, too.
Plant sale, fruit sale. Yeah, it takes a lot of money to make it happen. And hotel rooms aren't free.
No, that's for sure, especially when you have to put those kids up and feed them at the same time.
Yeah.
How about your teaching at Hays High? How's the biology and FFA connection work?
I get the biology kids are in that science program, so I usually probably wouldn't see them very often. Every once in a while I'll nab one. They'll just, hey, being a vet or something wouldn't be too bad, so I'll get one or two. But my biology kids probably hear a lot of examples that have to do with agriculture instead of lions, tigers, and bears and giraffes. They're going to get cows and pigs and some wheat. But it works out good because I've got a lot of real hands-on examples that relate to biology because of experiences in ag.
Strong program at Hays High.
Yeah.
And number-wise, you doing?
50 to 60 kids we'll have as FFA members. There'll probably be 70 kids or so, 75 kids in the ag program. They all don't want to join because they're a little leery sometimes. Sometimes they've had brothers or sisters that were phenomenal, you know, and they go, I don't know if I can get in here because I can't live in them centers. And then after they go, you know, it's a different set for a different kid.
Well, and you've got to factor in the fact that FFA is part of these kids' background in many cases.
Yeah, well, and they jump from 4-H right in. That's where a lot of them come from.
It's a good background to have.
Yep. They can really be, I mean, they're tremendous speakers.
What kind of careers can these kids
we can just talk about this class that's going off now. Lane Fonstel, who graduates, is going into beef, cattle, science, or reproductive technologies. Tanner Hunsaker's going at Fort Hays in some type of agronomy. Katie Frost is going into agronomy at K-State. Marie Ravelis is going into ag ed. And Laura Montgomery is going into ag business.
Wow.
So that's out of the 9, that's a few of them.
Really, the horizons are unlimited practically for these
Brianna
kids.
Alan Parks, who used to be an administrator in our school, she's pre-vet.
Oh,
so I think that's most of them.
Oh my goodness.
So
That is amazing. So
there's a wide range.
future's wide open for these kids, isn't it?
Yep. Well, there's a lot of jobs.
TMP Marion's going to start an FFA program. You going to be an advisor?
No, they have their own. And the new one is Victoria's offering classes too.
They're going to offer classes as well. Good.
So I guess I'm guessing some of their kids have been coming to Hays High and they probably want to keep them at home. So power to them. I hope they do well.
The more the better,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
Kurt, thanks for the visit.
You're
as
welcome.
always.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your summer.
I will.
Hopefully.
Busy. It'll be busy.
It'll be busy.
Good.
One last thing, if we could. Talk to parents about commitment for kids, motivation for kids. Teachers have to motivate kids. A lot of different kids, a lot of different styles of learning. Talk about motivation.
Motivation for me is now pretty easy because of our track history. I mean, if they're coming to Hays Ag or Hays FFA, you know, we have a pretty good track record already, and they know what they're getting into. So, you know, if they want to live to the standards of the ones in front, and then if I have 2 state or district officers that are in their classroom, that are part of their group, and they get to model that and see that, that's awful helpful too. And, you know, 28 years of experience of doing this, you know, hopefully we're doing it right by now. And that happens. But, you know, there's some days those kids that just have a tough life too. And, you know, you have to offer something positive for them. And I will always say this, a kid or a high school kid will belong to something. You know, hopefully in our world they belong to something that's good, but they will belong to something. You know, you provide enough places for them to, you know, and Hays being a 5A school, you know, we don't share a lot of kids. You know, if they want to be music kids, that's where they're at, or they want to be sports kids, or they want to be ag kids. But you know, some of these smaller schools are going to share them with everybody, and if a lot of these ag kids, you know, that's what they want to do,
and give them the right
and that
fit.
helps us.
And give them the right fit.
Right, and then if you're successful early, you know, you don't have to wave a lot of carrots.
FFA instructor, teacher of biology at Hays High School, Curt Vajnar, our community connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
My Angel Care physical therapist taught me how to do exercises safely.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
It gives us independence in our home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.